make money back.
Sue wants me to use my water bottle as a gavel. Wow. Thank you. It's a little after 6, so I'd love to get started. Welcome to the annual meeting, which serves as our February board meeting as well. And also tonight will serve as our January meeting, which was canceled due to a variety of factors, weather being one, but a light agenda. So thanks. We'll try to get through this pretty efficiently. We've been doing okay with that. So thanks for coming. With that, let's look at the, has everybody had a chance to see the minutes from December 16th? It's been a while. Hopefully you took a note or two and you remember what you read. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections to those minutes?
If there aren't, I'll move that we approve the December meeting minutes.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the December 16th board meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I was looking for my pen. I thought I'd left it out.
Okay, Lance is not able to be with us tonight, so Adam is going to fill us in on the treasurer's report dating back to December.
I will be just reading off of what Lance prepared and handed out to the board and to us. Just for December highlights, we did receive our second installments for property tax from Brown and Monroe County. From Brown County, we got $27,900, and Monroe County, we got $82,200. It was nice for that to come in December because our largest expense was they put down $90,800 for the barge out of J&J Boatworks to wire that, so it was pretty nice to recoup that money almost immediately as we paid it. So we actually ended up coming in December in the black by $5,000, but we did have a large payout. We were able to pay that $90,000 out of the checking account. We did not take any loans out this year. We had budgeted for a $200,000 loan. We were able to make that purchase without the loan. Staff costs remained about the same for October, November, December, right around $10,000 for salaries and benefits. Minimal on supplies, about $600. The rest are just kind of general operating costs, utilities. So that is December, pretty standard issue other than purchasing the first part of the barge. So we'll go to the reported claims. Before we go over the 2015 highlights, I don't know if everybody has had a chance to review the reported claims. There is a note on our the check voucher for the purchase of the barge. Since it was not a check, we ended up wiring that money. It did not show up in the actual register of checks. So we made a note down at the bottom of the page about the barge purchase. But if nobody has any questions or comments, concerns, I'd like to go ahead and seek a motion to approve the allowance of vouchers, reported claims for December 2015.
I'll make that motion, Adam.
These two numbers don't line up. We're off by $15. It's just a data entry issue on our 90,800, 90,815. It's minor, but something's.
Want to check in with Lance on that?
I'll second your motion.
Okay, I think we can go ahead and move that through. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the vouchers or the report for December. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I think on that $15 discrepancy, there was 90. We did put down an extra $15.
The $15
that
was
the
the service charge. It was the wire.
Oh, it was the wire charge. Sure.
Yeah, so the actual cost is $90,800, and it was a $15 wire fee from the bank. So that would be the difference there.
It's actually half of what I just paid to wire money, so we got a deal. Good.
Nope. That's it. We also, Lance made up a nice 2015 treasury report for the end of the year. I'll just kind of go down the categories that he has down. For our income, watercraft permits and launch fees, we budgeted for the year $100,005. We ended up making $115,000, so we were $10,400 over what we had budgeted for. It was a very nice summer. Monroe was actually shut down for a while from flooding, so we collected some of their boat sales from there and a lot of fishermen. So it was a great year for watercraft and permit fees. Marina and club fees, we budgeted 8,000. We ended up receiving 11,941. Sometimes we get more based on the amount of slips and docks that the different marinas have, so it does vary from year to year. Sublease fees, total amount collected was 27,445. Property taxes, we budgeted 250,000. The amount received was 256,924. Our dredging riprap income, our budgeted amount for income was $10,000. We ended up earning $17,675. We did do all private riprapping this year, and I think we still ended up getting. You know what the linear footage was, James? Maybe 1,200 or 1,300 linear feet.
Yeah.
We just had so many private jobs. We just kind of stuck with that, so we can make some bunny mac and riprap the shoreline.
On the surplus then, does that go toward next year's purchase of riprap or what?
It just comes into our revenue.
Just-
Just comes into our general in the check-in. For that's dredging riprap, we did not take out the $200,000 loan that we had budgeted for the purchase of a barge. Our year-end budget goal for income was $655,200, and the amount we earned for the year was $500,270. And keep in mind that $655 included the $200,000 loan proceeds, which we did not have to get. So we were looking really good for the year. Payroll expense, we budgeted $199,000. We ended up spending $176,000, approximately 88.3% of our total budget. Some of that has to do with we really bumped up the hours for the gatehouse this year. But also saves us money not having to go over on payrolls, 88.3% of the budget. Supplies, $19,537 under budget year to date. Luckily, we had no major breakdowns this year. We've had to do general maintenance, but with the big equipment, there was nothing catastrophic. That's always nice. It's always kind of a crapshoot, honestly, if something's going to happen. But we have our staff's pretty good at general maintenance, and luckily nothing did, so we came out in the black there. Professional fees were $9,022 under the annual budget. We had the potential for hiring consultants in there. We did not end up hiring a consultant this year, so we saved a lot of the professional fees. Really just the professional service we use are the accountant and the attorney. Maintenance and facility services. We spent $9,000. We budgeted $15,000 for annual for maintenance facilities. We spent $9,000 over. And the majority of that was the $16,000 that we spent on maintaining both the bathhouse and then upgrading the office, the renovations that we did there. So we did go over on budget there. That was not initially budgeted. And then when we did the transfer funds, we got that back to zero. Insurance, $1,173 below budget for 2015. Weed treatment and water testing, $16,799 below our 2015 budget. Debt service and equipment, we had no loans taken out. An equipment purchase, we did make the down payment in December of $90,800. So our year end, the amount spent was $460,449. We budgeted for $691, which included the $200,000 loan. So without even getting the loan, we're still able to come in the black about $38,000 this year and put down the down payment for that barge. So overall, it was a very good year revenue-wise. Any questions with the budget, or if not, we'll go ahead and move on to the vegetation control. I don't know if you want to introduce that, Pam. We can actually have James introduce that.
Go right, yeah, go ahead, since that's your bit.
All right, everybody, this is Nate Long from Aquatic Control. He's been treating weeds here longer than a lot of people have been at this table, so.
Not that old.
Well, you've been doing it for, how long have you been treating weeds here, 20 years?
Aquatic Control has been about 20 years.
Okay. So.
I've made a little outline, and I think James or someone put together in the annual report pretty much everything I was going to talk about tonight. Looks like you did a pretty good job of that. But I've got a few extra, a little more detail. There's a few maps on here if anybody wants one, if anybody.
I don't need one. Because I've got one here. We did that one? Yeah, I don't need one.
Pass that.
We have it in our packet.
I mean, if you want, you can have it. Oh, okay. It's in here. I've got it too. It's on there. My thing is.
And I'll give you this one, or I'll give you this one. Quickly, Nathan Long, Aquatic Control. I've been with the company for about 17 years now. This is our 50th year in business. We're located in Seymour, Indiana. We first started work here in the early 80s, probably before a lot of you were here. This lake had about 400 acres of an invasive species growing in it, and that was a treatment completed along with Purdue University got involved in that. We didn't get back involved in the lake until the late 90s when the Conservancy got formed. And there wasn't a whole lot of funds. There was a lot of weeds, a lot of invasive plants, and so we didn't do a lot of treatments. Kind of ramped up in the mid-2000s. You guys got a lot of layer funding then, and helped get things knocked back down to a more controllable level. It's kind of up and down for those years. The last few years, we really haven't had that many problems on the lake as far as a lot to treat. As they reported, we were under budget, or you were under budget this year, which is a good thing for you. It's not always a good thing for my boss when he sees that, but that's all right. We know there will be years when you have years where you have problems, and this year you had to, like James I think already touched on, you had flooding early. So you have murky water, you don't have a lot of light getting through the water, you don't have a lot of plants growing early. So we didn't get started this year till later. We try to get more layer funding. So you've probably heard about the layer funding. We apply to get funding where we can treat invasive plants throughout the lake. They gave me $5,000. I think we tried to get $100,000. They gave us $5,000, but it's better than nothing. And we kind of knew going in you weren't going to get funding, but it's always worth a shot. You never know what will happen because some years you have got a lot of funding and it really helps things out. We predicted last year that you wouldn't have much of a problem because your main plant is milfoil. You probably see it in the spring usually. It's that real nasty one that comes up. Fishermen like it. I like fishing it here sometimes, but it comes up, it'll spread across the surface. It can cause a lot of problems and it breaks up into pieces. Those pieces can root anywhere and start growing. And it does overwinter. It's a perennial type plant, so if it's there in the fall, it's probably going to be there in the spring. Last fall we didn't see much, so we thought you might have a good year this year. Glad that added on with the rains and the flooding. It was a pretty good year. We didn't have a whole lot of treatments to do. This fall, I think kind of the same thing. We didn't see a tremendous amount this fall, so I think you should probably be in good shape next year, but we never know. That can all be determined by the spring. You have a real early spring. You can have a lot of problems here pretty quick. This lake's shallow, nutrient rich, and it grows stuff fast. Basically this year we came, I think you had in your report 3 times. I think we were here 4 times.
Yeah, I think the 4th was more of a touch-up.
Just a little bitty touch-up job. But I've outlined, if you have a copy of this, I've outlined our treatments. Basically what we do, we treat with 2 different, or basically your submerged, your rooted plants that aren't, not your lilies, but the stuff that grows on the bottom. We use one product called Renovate. It is a selective herbicide, approved for water obviously, that will just kill the milfoil. It kills the whole plant, kills the roots and all. I said it was a perennial plant, so you get a real good kill with the Renovate. That's good thing is selective. You can leave some native plants. That's a bad thing to some people too, because sometimes those native plants can be just as problematic as your invasive plants. Our first treatment we did with Renovate, and we tend to get longer control when we do those. We tend to get, it kills the whole plant, so you get 1, 2, sometimes multiple years of control in those areas. So that was the first treatment we did. Second treatment, you had a mixture of plants. We came in with some contact herbicides to control the milfoil and the other plants that were there. Just basically, if you have a map, it's just some real small areas that we did, no large scale treatments or large areas. Cut back on the lotus spraying this year. Some of the areas that we were behind when we had maintenance lines, they were actually dry land now because that area is filling in, and that is great fish habitat, and a lot of those areas are inaccessible anyway because there might be 6 inches of water there, so that was cut back, saved you some money on that. The new maintenance lines, I believe, are on there.
In the back, yeah.
Like I said, what's in store for 2016 depends on weather. You were over budget this year. Not selfishly, but knowing other lakes I deal with, sometimes you get a few good years and you cut that back, and then you get hit with a early spring. I'd like to see you keep that in there just in case. I think you guys probably expressed that need, but that milfoil could take off fast. I know some years I've come here in April and you've already had 100 acres of milfoil growing all around the lake, and like this year there was nothing, so it's highly variable. It seems like we've done about the same amount the last few years, and like I said, I don't want to get in the habit of thinking it's going to be that way every year, because that can go up and down, but I don't think we're at a level where it's just going to stay the same all the time. Drawdown effectiveness, hard to say, it depends on the winter. We've had some good winters before and had little milfoil. We've had some good hard freezing winters before with the drawdown and had milfoil. I think it helps, so if that's continuing, and did you draw a lake down this year?
Kind of, it's drawn down right now, but it's coming right
As
back
much as
up.
you could get it down.
With all that rain, it'll,
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably about,
We went to a 3.5
3 feet
foot.
down right now.
That was our target.
Yeah, and that's mostly the areas that people are concerned at, because most of your dock areas are 3.5 foot or so. So I think it does help somewhat, but it's, and most of the literature you read says it can help if you get a good winter. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Were you given any particular reason why you didn't get more LAIR funding?
I think the main reason is you don't have a true public access. It's a fee access. It's open to the public, but it costs a lot more than a normal DNR access. That's probably one of the main reasons. But you have got funding in the past, but the last 4 or 5 years has been pretty minimal. Anything else?
Nate, I don't have a question. You did mention something about maintenance lines,
Yes.
and I think the staff is going to probably tell you that those maintenance lines are going to be changed again.
Okay.
Specifically in the Salmon Harbor Cove. I've got 2 doctors, a lawyer, 3 professors, and a professional engineer, and I don't see your phone number on here anywhere where they could call you and not me. So,
Call
if-
in.
In college, James.
yeah, so make sure those maintenance lines will go back to where they were originally, if you would, for the Lotus. Thank you.
I want to thank you guys for sticking with us, and the guy before me was great to work with. The guys now are great to work with, and I do a lot of lakes, and these guys are on top. This guy and these 2 guys have been on top of me. If I miss one spot or plant doesn't go down in one spot, they let me know, trust me. No other lakes, no other lakes are as frugal or checking things out like you guys are. That's good. Even though it can be tough sometimes, but I like that kind of contact with those customers.
May I ask one question?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
okay?
Sure.
I don't understand a lot about the biology of the lake or the plant, whatever, but you mentioned that you did not spray the lotus this year because they are essentially on land. I think that's where we live. And what is the relationship between that lotus not being sprayed and holding onto the silt? What can you say about all that?
The lotus, come on, Bob.
Sorry.
The lotus is, it helps hold the silt in. It reduces erosion, provides fish cover. The problem, I think, I got totally having a line there where you can have a line of sight out of your house, but a lot of that area, when we spray the lotus, it's like this deep. In a week, there was solid coontail beds or milfoil beds there, and the Conservancy obviously wasn't going to come in and treat 6 inches of water to control the submerged plant. So the lotus provides, not only does it, in my opinion, I think it looks nice. A lot of people disagree with me. I think it looks nice. It provides wildlife cover, fish cover. It holds in. It can reduce some nutrients. It reduces erosion. So it has benefits. So that's one reason I think we cut back or we cut back on.
And it was my call this year to move it out a little bit. Generally go from the satellite dish to the end of the little triangle there off Solomon Point. And we generally would spray it probably, 10 more acres of lotus. And you really are just wiping out all the benefits that you get from these wetlands, such as the stabilization and eating up some of the nutrients.
So in the spring, we'll have a little powwow about those lines, and we can maybe.
Yeah, and in the residential areas too, where we
compromise
have
there.
some of the channels, and we can move it back to the old one.
Okay.
But really hate the idea of kind of out in the middle areas where you're not really affecting boating pathways. I don't necessarily see a reason to treat as far back, but we'll discuss that in the spring.
Yeah, and just let me know, which I'm sure you will. One thing you'll have to let me know is with permitting, because I've moved the permit out too, so I'll just have to let DNR know.
All right.
Is that a lengthy process to
No.
get that
No,
reestablished?
it would be me probably calling Dave Kataka and saying, we want to go back to the old line.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nate.
problem.
And I know you would love to stay for the rest of the meeting.
I usually enjoy these meetings more than most, but.
You
I
are,
don't
you are
think-
excused if you would like to be. So,
Thank you.
Be safe going home, and thanks
Thank
for all
you.
you do for the lake.
No problem.
How
I
can
enjoy
you
it.
trust a guy who lies like that?
Yeah, well.
Next up, we do have the operating agreement with Aquatic Control for 2016. It'll be approved for $50,000 is the estimated amount. This year we didn't spend as much. Some years we may spend a little bit more. The rest of the contract pretty much is the same, just updated for 2016. So if everybody's had a chance to review the contract, I'd like to go ahead and seek a motion that we enter into the operating agreement with Aquatic Control and continue with them for the 2016 season.
I'll make that
Oh,
motion.
okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
Second.
Oh, there it is. It's been moved and seconded that we accept this vegetation control and operating agreement with Aquatic Control. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Nate, nice doing business with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sue gave me your number, so I'll make sure that all those people in Salmon Harbor contact you.
Pass that down to the table.
Right there.
And Nate, before you head out, if you could sign that. All right, I think I'm up again. 2015 annual report. We did have some copies for the back. If everybody had a chance to grab a report, we'll kind of read along. Board of Directors, we had 2 LLCD positions filled in 2015. Mike Blackwell ran unopposed and was elected a 4-year term for Sub-Area 7. Directors appointed Andy Hoffman for Sub-Area 5 to a 1-year term that expires actually at this meeting. The board officers for 2015 were Pam Dugan, Chairman, Sue Miller, Vice Chairman, and Lance Eberly, Treasurer. Personnel, key staff for 2015. We put down key staff because at the beginning of the year we went through a couple different push boat operators rather quickly and they didn't make the cut to the list. Joe Hopkins, Chris New, and Alex Snooks were our gatehouse attendants, and they had been with us for. Chris and Joe have been around for probably 3 to 4 years. We will be losing Joe this next year. Chris and Alex will still be around. Alex is actually pretty good up and comer, and I'm happy to have him sticking around. We will be searching for a 3rd gatehouse attendant here in the near future. We had James Van Tassel as lake biologist, our barge operator Levi Worthen, and Isaac Walls was a pushboat operator, and we had Isaac for the majority of the season. He will be coming back. He's been real good to work with. Gatehouse operations, 2015 boating season started on Saturday, March 21st, and ended on Sunday, November 20th, and that was when we took the dock out for the season. Boat permits and launch fees collected in 2015 totaled $139,422, and we hosted 28 fishing tournaments in 2015. And we've already had a lot of fishing tournaments coming in for 2016. So a little price raise did not seem to affect their willingness to fish here at all. Boating safety and enforcement. DNR made a great presence on the lake this year. I think they were here almost every weekend, which is a good thing. We like that. There's one boating incident on May 1st that involved a Swamp John boat near South Shore. IDNR came out. They had a strong presence. Ended up issuing 8 boating citations, 3 fishing citations, 20 boat warning tickets, 3 fishing warning tickets, and 1 hunting warning ticket. And I actually believe the majority of the boating tickets, if not all of them, were lake residents, so congrats on that. I'll let James go. Actually, we just had the aquatic plant management update from Nate. I don't know if we need to go through that again, or do we feel comfortable with what he said? It was pretty much exactly the same in the report. 2014-2015 winter drawdown. The LCD drew down the lake 3.5 feet for 2014-2015 season. Sluice gate was opened on December 2nd, 2014 and shut on December 26th, 2014. Due to precipitation, gate reopened on December 30th and shut again at 4 inches below normal pool on January 21st. So that was before I was here. I don't remember the winter last year. Did we get a good freeze or?
We did.
Did we?
We opened it twice last year.
Number 7, wildlife control. LCD received permission from IDNR to treat resident Canada goose nests and eggs. And actually, that's a very easy process online. So we do treat around the islands, but it's impossible to treat around the entire lake. And any resident can go on there to the DNR website and get the nuisance wildlife permit. Takes about 10 seconds. So if you have a problem in your areas and you want to go get a permit, feel free to help us out around the lake. We treated, James Van Tassel treated 14 nests, totaled 77 eggs on Cemetery Island. And this year we actually started using the dogs to clear off the island, so it was a lot easier for us getting around to those nests instead of just getting attacked all the time. 2015 water testing, Indiana University School of Public Affairs, SPIA. They've been, I think, testing the lake since the beginning, since we were mandated to do it. Tests include reviews of such parameters as clarity, nutrients, algae, dissolved oxygen, and fecal coliform. The 2015 results are expected in May 2016. And at that time, Melissa Clark will come out and give her annual report of the nutrient condition of the lake. The biologists, we monitored E. coli concentrations at Riddle Point Park. We do that weekly, required by our permit. But the counts were pretty low this year. It wasn't too bad. A little raises during some storm events, but nothing off the charts. Riddle Point Park opened on Saturday, May 23rd. And we charged park admission through September 7th. And I believe they were pushed out Memorial Day and Labor Day, the furthest they could be for the year where they fell. So it kind of gave us a couple extra weekends for revenue. Season vehicle passes were $60. Daily park admission was $5. Total park admissions collected in 2015 were $30,100. The shelter was rented out 14 times. Rental fees $125 per day. So it really only collected $1,750. And this year, it's one of the things we'll be focusing on a little bit more is trying to find some advertising avenues in Bloomington, try to make a little bit more money and renting out the shelter house more. Hosted, IU women's varsity rowing team hosted an event at Lake Lemon. And we had the Lake Lemon Triathlon, which brings in about additional $2,000 in revenue. And I think they both went off pretty well this year. We did have the Boys and Girls Club romp too, but we let them use the lane for that. But that was nice. Got a lot of people out of the park, and it was a very good event. We hosted the Independence Day fireworks show at Riddle Point Park on July 3rd. Sky Magic Pyrotechnics for a cost of $6,500. We did end up making back $6,300, so just under what we paid for, which is nice to get that much back in revenue. I did get yelled at by the fire marshal for letting people too close, so next year we'll have to push back past the gatehouse when we're setting them off. If it's on a boat, it doesn't matter, but on land, they said we had people sitting too close to the fireworks, so we're gonna have to push them back a little bit.
Shelter house, not gatehouse.
The shelter house, yeah, sorry about that. The shelter house, that was fun last minute, running around yelling at people to pack up their belongings and scoot back another couple hundred feet.
So wait a minute, you could be too close on your boat with a gas tank?
Not on the boats, on the land side.
Wow.
But they don't have the rule.
No,
It just seems like
the boat they don't.
you should be.
And I don't
be more
think
dangerous.
DNR was on the lake this year. I generally try to back up a little just in case something did happen, but it seems there wasn't boats too close. Seems the residents stick back pretty far. Shoreline project permits. 15 permits were issued to Lake Freeholders in 2015. Most of them were erosion control. There were some seawalls, and then a lot of riprap that went in, maybe some gabion baskets. But mostly had to do with shoreline stabilization. Since 1996, 362 shoreline permits have been issued to freeholders. Number 11, the 2014 LSD Lake Enhancement Program. We have 4 primary functions: riprap, dredging, sediment debris removal, and stump removal. We have the attachments in here over the next couple pages for what we actually, find my cheat sheet here. For what we actually did, attachment A, lake debris stump removal. We ended up spending 120 hours for lake debris removal. We did have to go out a second time when we had that second series of storms for debris removal. So it took quite a bit of time to clean up twice on the east end. 120 hours. Our fuel estimate, just under $1,000 in fuel. We did have to rent a machine to help clean up on the east end over there just west of Solomon Harbor where all the debris comes on the beach. So grand total, we spent $9,729 for lake debris removal. For shoreline stabilization and riprap, it was 1,120 linear feet of shoreline that were stabilized. Total cost of riprap stone was $14,800. Again, this year there was such an interest in private jobs. We ended up just using all of our hours for private jobs, laying stone on the ground anyways. We might as well make a little bit of money off it, if not break out even. So total hours that we spent on there were 28 hours, 35 hours for the dredge operator, 28 hours for the push boat operator. Fuel estimate was under $500 for all the jobs that we did. It's effectively cost neutral for us. I think we ended up making about $600. So that's very good. Sediment removal. Our dredger costs, we ended up using 406 hours for the dredger, 397 hours for the assistant dredger. Our budgeted 2015 total was $32,700. We spent $21,992. Supply cost, we budgeted $31,000 for diesel fuel and dredging supplies. We ended up spending under $10,000, $9,175. Some of the reason that was so low is we filled up the tanks at the end of 2014, so we started off with all of our big tanks full, and then again, no major breakdowns or malfunctions with the machine equipment, so that helped keep supply costs low. Services and charges, this would be insurance, loan services. We did not have a loan repayment. We budgeted $62,346. $46,000 was the loan repayment, but we paid that off in 2014. So total services and charges were $10,310. Our grand total budget was $126,000. Again, that included the loan service. Actual came out at $41,478.
I have a question. So we used up 2/3 of our budget on personnel costs. Was that because they couldn't get out there to use up the other third?
Yeah, we ran out of water towards the end, so we really couldn't.
Okay,
we had
I just
to dig
wanted to
get
clarify.
into the sites. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we did end up using some of those hours. We had them do quite a bit of work at the disposal site now, and it's looking very nice over there. Possum Trot disposal site prep, 2015 grand total was $12,331. We have other staff costs, equipment maintenance is just kind of broken down a little bit more, $2,917. And then office park work, when they're just kind of around the office and in the park doing small maintenance, was $1,100. So the majority of the work was spent out on the water. That is the 2015 annual report. If anybody has any questions, I can entertain those.
Questions for Adam, your very first
Yes.
one?
So on the sediment removal, we came in $84,000 under what was budgeted, correct?
Yes.
But that's because the loan wasn't in there.
Yeah, 46,000 of that would have
46,000
been
of that
loan.
is loan.
Yeah.
was-
From the large part.
Right, so
Yeah.
really, it's,
But that's still money in our $500,000 budget.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's money that's still in the checking account.
And will be, this year and the next year?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It won't be additional, it's just a budget for the expenses, but the money that we did not spend remains with us.
Okay, and then back to our year end, the total surplus, it was 39,000. I just wanted, that first one you went through?
Oh, the first financial sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah, 38,456.
Okay.
Where that's, we came in.
So we're about 125,000 between the two?
Of money that we did not spend?
Yes.
I have to look at that because we didn't, the initial total expenses included the potential $200,000 loan summary, or a loan that we did not have to take out.
Yeah, but that wasn't that 30, okay.
But yeah, so we came out $38,000 to be the total that we came out in the black.
Okay.
So, the $90,800 that we've already paid toward the new barge and equipment, or whatever you want to call it, barge and motor, I take it.
Yeah.
How much in total then are we gonna have to borrow to pay off for the rest of it? We still have money
None.
toward that? We
Yeah.
won't have to borrow, take out a loan at all?
No, the next payment should be maybe right around $40,000. We budgeted for 145,000 total. We spent the 90,800 down, so we will be under 50,000, so we should be able to pay it off without getting a loan for the equipment, which will be great.
Any other questions? Well, congratulations, Adam. That's your very first annual report.
Survived it.
Under the belt.
Survived it.
Did a good job.
All right, managers report. Current managers report. Small barge update. It's moving along pretty good. They have got one of the sections done. They're finishing up the second section, putting the decking on it. Next they'll be putting on the box. I guess the longest wait right now is he did order the hydraulic lifters for the motors, and those are on a little bit of a back order. So we'll be waiting for those. That's just so we can move the motors up and down as they're loaded. But the build's going good. I do have some pictures. We actually started up a Lake Lemon Facebook account. I don't know who's all on it, but I will post the pictures as they come into the accounts. People can check out the build as it goes. But it seems to be trucking right along. I'm not sure how far he said the backlog would be on those motor lifters, but I don't think it will be much more than a month. I told him the water's still down low, so I would think sometime in March, hope he'll be sitting on the water. We'll have to hire the train and get it shipped up here. Not the train, crane. LLCD mowing bids. We did receive 4 bids for the 2016 park mowing agreement, and we put a little quote comparison sheet in the packet. Our 2011 cost contract was $10,875. The 3 highest bids that came in, TS Lawn Care came in at $17,500, $6,600 above what we paid in 2011. Roger Edwards came in at $16,900, about $6,000 increase. G. Wagler Landscaping came in at $16,900, about a $6,000 increase. And then Anderson Excavating, people who currently had or did have the contract, came in at $10,560, so they're actually $300 less than what they bid out in 2011. And I think some of that has to do with the fuel cost, and we generally keep the park pretty ready for them to mow and keep the debris picked up really nicely. So I don't know if there's any discussion.
Who does it now?
It's Anderson Excavating.
Okay.
He's the one that came in at 2011 at $10,800. So I would like to continue with Nate Anderson. He's great. Never have to talk to him. I've never walked outside once since I've widened this grass shorter. So I'd like to go ahead and seek a motion. There's no discussion that we go ahead and give the contract to Anderson Excavating. The contract is for 1 year with the potential to renew for, I believe, 3 additional years, making it a 4-year contract.
At the same cost?
Yeah, at the same cost. So it'd be up to both of us. If we want to renew at the end of each year, we can. And last year, he actually renewed for the full potential, so it was 4 years.
And for the sake of the board, I spoke with Lance this morning, and he, as you might guess, was tickled with this because it's under budget. So
I make a motion that we accept Anderson Excavating Lawn Care.
I second that.
all right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the contract with Anderson for the mowing. May I, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, no, the operating agreement wasn't here. We're gonna have to update the operating agreement with Nate Anderson and specifics. So Pam and I will get that, you to sign that after we update the contract.
Okay.
Commercial boat fee discussion. Last time it was brought up about commercial boat fees for boats operating on the water for profit, and including dock and lift, fishing guide services. If you wanted to charge an additional fee or a special fee for the commercial use. I did talk to the attorney. I'll read off her first paragraph. Based on her email, I understand that there's been some consideration of selling commercial boat passes to fishing guides and/or dock lift companies that use the lake for profit. We asked whether the LCD can create and sell a more expensive commercial annual boat pass in addition to the existing standard annual boat passes, and they said that they believe we can. There's a lot of different parts of the Bloomington Municipal Code that are listed, or how they came up their decision, but essentially in our lease, it just talks about for just recreational use, no for profit use. So there's really nothing in there that says we can't have a commercial fee. I don't know how far we want to delve into discussion for this tonight, but I'll leave it to the board to see what you think about that.
Andy, this was sort of your encouragement that we look at this. This is kind of a good start. It's been suggested to me that we might want to put this out and do it over a couple of meetings just to make sure we get it right.
I definitely think it's something we need to discuss a couple times. We could get a general consensus among board members, if it's even something we want to look at or not.
Okay.
Do we have any interest? I mean, are there people, there's people doing stuff, right?
There's
Right
people
now.
operating on the lake, making a profit.
And we're not getting a cut of it.
That's part of it, yeah. They're operating the same as on boat passes like any of us buy.
Okay.
But I don't think it's fair for us to just unveil a commercial boat fee out of nowhere. I would propose the first year, we would have a separate commercial boat sticker that's the same price as the regular boating sticker, and let them know if we plan to raise the fees in the future. That way they can figure it into their next year's projected incomes.
I agree. I don't
And
think it's
prices and
fair.
stuff. I don't think it's fair to give anyone sticker shock that's trying to
Right.
operate a business.
Yeah, sandbag. Barb?
So, if I understand correctly, you're saying, for instance, John has a marina here on the lake. In order for his work boat or whatever you call your boat there, you're gonna charge him an extra fee for operating that boat on the lake?
Yes.
John, do you pay for a regular sticker for your barge?
No.
Okay.
In the, let me explain, the lease with the city says that the marina receives 2 boat permits.
I don't think
Okay,
it's fair.
Okay.
okay, thank you. That's good clarification. Before you have to recuse yourself from, I want to know how you feel about this.
I don't think it's fair. I mean,
Well, I'm asking John.
It's a real sticky wicket for me to.
I bet it is.
I think the best thing to do is just, rather than ask how I feel, just ask for information, and I
That's-
can answer those sorts of
That's what I'm,
questions.
okay.
All right.
And
all
I
right.
want everyone to know, I will not be voting on any of this. It's too close to conflict.
Right.
You had an idea of how we might structure this over
Yeah.
March, April, and May, and none of this would take effect this year anyway.
Yeah, you can't, I don't think you can just dump this on
No,
people
I agree.
without
Well,
warning them.
That's absolutely true. They cannot. All of
It's
the
all done.
2016
That's
contracts
true.
are done.
That's right, yeah, you're right.
This wouldn't even come into play until a year from now.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you do charge a fee, all they're gonna do is pass it on to the guy that's having the work done, which is gonna be
That's a good
Largely a
point.
freeholder. That is a good point.
it's just gonna cost more for the guys once it's done.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Todd?
I know you're saying, we can't do anything this year, which is fine, but I just want to clarify, and I think I know the answer, but for instance, I'm all about boats. We're out there working on you guys' a lot of people's boats. So we would be charged a a new sticker. If it went up, it would be a different sticker price for us to come out there and work on somebody's boat, correct?
Are you operating from a boat?
Yes. Well, I mean, we gotta come out there to do a lake call on your,
But you're coming from land?
we come from land, we come from water.
All About Boats and a couple other companies, boat mechanics will buy an annual ramp pass. So then they show the ramp pass, which kind of gives them access to bring, Joe Smith's boat over and, run it or send
So
it
they get
back.
like a dealer plate, kind of a
Kind of.
blanket pass?
Kind of, yeah.
I think that's
So there'd
a
be
whole
like a-
separate conversation.
So it'd be like kind of a commercial
I didn't
boat
even
and
realize
ramp
there
fee.
were, if we can do blanket boat passes, I would love to do that because I buy 5 stickers a year, so.
Well,
This is a boat ramp.
Yeah, I
They can-
mean-
they can-
Yeah, that's,
Well,
I think that's kind of a different situation. We're mostly talking about boats operating fishing guide services and dock services.
Well,
I don't know.
That's what I'm clearing.
Yeah, I think that would be, that'd be part of what we have to
Yeah,
discuss,
because,
is that
you know,
something
2
different?
years ago, I took over, somebody breaks down on the lake, they call me and I go out and tow them in.
I
I
would-
charge
I
them
would-
whatever. I'm making a profit on it.
Yeah.
Do I get charged later for having to have a commercial boat sticker?
I would think that would fall under commercial boat fee.
Well, I think what you guys are illustrating
Pass
is,
it right on to the victim.
right, what you guys are illustrating is what John has been thinking about as well, and that is, this is probably a bigger discussion.
There's a
Yeah.
whole
Really
lot
wanna
more
have
involved
tonight.
than
This
just.
is like
So-
having our septic tanks inspected.
Could be. Well, I wonder if it would be best if we've had a little discussion, but if we plan to put this March, April, May, and break it up as we need to. If we get done with it in one meeting, great, but I think John's right, we're probably not.
We need more.
And we need more
We also
information.
have, we have boat dock businesses that operate almost exclusively on Lake Lemon. But then you also have competition that are boat dock services that come from Indy from the day. And they just buy a one-day pass. And now they're direct competition, to the people that actually serve the lake year-round. So you could set your fees up where one-day commercial passes are a little heftier than the 1 year, and you help out the vendors that are willing to buy a 1-year pass.
That's true.
You would, for instance, buy a 1-year pass because you're right here on the lake. But, you don't want to have competition from some place in Indy that can come down and work on someone's boat, and now they aren't paying that fee.
Well, we need to favor the
Yeah,
local
that's-
businesses.
Once
Yeah,
again,
that's where you would then come, that's the
Okay.
whole discussion. It's
Okay.
it's
Once
not
again, I
something
think
we're gonna resolve
It's got
tonight.
several layers to it, so I would
Complicated.
propose that we push this down a bit so we can all
We need more
think about it,
information.
get more information. Adam, we should have some conversations about the categories and really noted the
We'll
ones
see
you've
if, see
mentioned.
what other lakes do and what other,
Yeah,
and
sure.
other people.
And John knows a
handle it.
lot about that.
Yeah.
I believe you have.
We
quite
have a
bit of
resident
research.
person
Expert,
here
so,
that
okay.
knows what he's talking about.
John-
Everybody
left
okay
the
with,
lake.
with moving that down the line just a little bit?
I'm good.
Okay, everybody else okay? All right, thanks, Adam, we'll work on that. Drawdown,
He's an
right?
operations
You have most-
supervisor, he just doesn't move as fast as he used to.
He does, I don't know what's going on here.
My gosh, you give the guy a promotion or a raise,
I
and
know.
he's got no skip to his hop.
Adam, did we skip your drawdown update? Excuse me.
put in a.
Oh, I did skip the drawdown.
James, one second, we skipped the winter drawdown update, do you
So-
mind? Come on up, bring it back.
It's not your fault, James.
So actually, you're moving fast.
Glad to bring them up.
We're not allowed to.
Not up.
Winter drawdown,
couldn't remember.
I honestly did not write down the exact dates. Do you know when they opened up the dam, Jim?
Right.
Is that the Dawson? It may have been right at the beginning of December, it was the first week of December.
You guys sent an email out.
Yeah.
November. It was November.
It was after Thanksgiving.
weekend
It was
of
like the first
November.
weekend in November.
Yeah, first week in December.
They're out there.
So I opened up the gates first week of December to get a 3.5 foot drawdown. We were able to get a 3.5 foot drawdown, and we closed the sluice gate. Very next weekend, we had torrential downpours, and the lake came up to about a foot above normal pools over a period of 3 days. Until it came up about 4 feet. After that, we did open the gate back up to try to get down to 3.5 feet. We closed the gate at the beginning of last week at 3.5 feet. And the rain has brought it back up now, and I'm just gonna leave it closed. I don't think we're gonna get any more freezing temperatures And hopefully anybody that had work to do on docks, seawalls, lifts, etc., has had a chance to accomplish that. So I think for now, we're just gonna leave the sluice gate closed for the rest of the year. So if we do come up, we'll just be reliant on the spillway. That's the water drawdown update. Yes.
On the drawdown, have you been out to see if there's any erosion as far as with the 3.5 feet, if there's excessive erosion where on the land where it's falling in?
I have not done an excessive study. Around our coves right at the office though, when we were down, there's definitely new shelves getting cut into the side that I could see just from the office and around the shoreline that I did look at.
You took some pictures of those, did you not? I think we
I
talked
believe
about
that,
it.
yeah, at the office. And then when that rain came with all that exposed soil on the east end, it was just a muddy mess. I mean, when all that is exposed and we have those huge rains, all that does is just beat up the sediment and wash it in.
Have you noticed the delta forming as you go down South Shore? If you look out towards the lake, I mean, it's
Where the big tree is?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, right where the big tree's at.
Me and James actually went and checked that out from Solomon Harbor Point, and you can see that spit of land going all the way past the point. I couldn't believe how far out that is coming. And again, a lot of that too is draw it down or knock out these weeds, and all that sediment just destabilizes and comes in. I do like the idea, once we have more discussion about maybe potentially every 2 to 3 years we do one substantial drawdown so people can plan for work, get their work done, but not necessarily draw it down every year and try to kind of reduce the impact from
We
erosion.
discussed that several years ago about drawing down one year, not drawing down another year, and we probably ought to look at that again this year. Is because we've drawn down twice now, 2 years in a row, and we haven't skipped a year. So we need to probably look at that. I had a question. We had IU professor look at that delta, and they were supposed to come back and talk to us.
I've been, Rebecca Caldwell, I've been kind of keeping in touch with her every few months. Her final report is not done.
Okay.
So she just doesn't have anything for us yet.
Okay, thank you.
So,
All
But
right.
it's still coming? She's not?
yeah,
gone
it's
away
been
or-
probably a couple months since I've talked to her, but I talked to her, you know, probably in November or something, and she was just kind of still working on things, so.
Yeah, for those who don't know, she's a PhD student that's doing her work on the formation of the delta on the east end. They're mostly looking at processes of sediment accretion, not necessarily how we can benefit, but having the knowledge of where it's coming in, how it's laid, why it's happening, could really give us some insight on how to better react to it.
Couldn't we do some dredging and knock it back?
Yeah. We could, on that little point, we could, it's hard to do open water dredging with the mechanical style. It's definitely a lot more attuned to channels and maintenance. But where that spit of land is coming past the point right there, Solomon Point, so it's called.
Ellis Point.
Ellis Point, where that's spitting out, I mean, we can come up and kind of get that point. I guess we'll discuss that one next month when we do the priorities.
Can we move, did we ever decide about moving the drawdown discussion to earlier in the year?
You had brought it up, and everybody thought it was a good idea, but
Yeah.
we didn't
We
put a
should
date
maybe
on it.
just pick a summer meeting that we put that into.
No.
That way
If you want to make it
people,
a summer meeting or not.
why is that?
It's so controversial. Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
That's just, if we do or don't draw down, people have,
A chance
if
to
people
plan.
plan ahead, then they have a chance to plan ahead, rather than finding out in December if they have time to do
I think a summer
seawall
discussion
repairs. Yeah,
is
I
a good
think,
idea, because then.
I don't have a
that's-
seawall, but if I had a seawall, I would like as much notice to try to schedule repairs if there is or isn't going to be drawdown. I think that would be advantageous to people with seawalls.
I just made a comment.
Yeah. I didn't think it was that, I thought we got through it pretty easy last year, didn't we? The drawdown?
It wasn't, yes, and it wasn't a summer meeting, but yeah, we'll get through it. We'll get through it, right, John?
Yeah, we can do it. What the heck? Put it in there.
lots of times in the summer, through natural evaporation or drought, the lake is quite low. I mean, I've been here a long time, and you'd be surprised.
way in
And if
August?
there's any amount of work to be done, they could also get it done then.
One of the things that the
Without-
drawdown has convinced me is flooding, and it has controlled the flooding enormously the last 2 years, and almost 4 different floods in 2 years. That's the biggest concern I have, is when we draw down the 3.5 or 4 feet, it really helps with the flooding. But I'm not an erosion specialist, but I know that is really one pro that I can see that we have experienced.
It's a big pro, but when you consider, and you're talking about the erosion, it's kind of like
Believe
a
me,
catch-22 there.
There's multiple sides to this
Right.
discussion.
Yeah,
That's
it's like an
exactly
onion.
what Mike's saying. There's-
We spend $100,000 a year on dredging, and then when we draw the lake down, we totally reverse what we've, or almost reverse what we spent our money on. So that is our Achilles heel, and we are going to try to overcome it.
Sure.
But we've got people without lake access, and there's just a lot of things that we have on our agenda that we're trying to.
Last month, we did come up over 4 feet in about 3 to 3
Yeah,
days.
it's.
I think one of my neighbors moved my fishing boat. Thank you.
Susan?
I know there are a lot of moving parts, but just an observation coming across the causeway on the way here tonight. The south side of the causeway, very clean, looking nice. On the right side, the north side of the causeway, brown, dark brown. So the turbulence and sediment is just an observation. It's one of the moving parts.
Absolutely. Okay, now that you've been standing there.
I would have sat down if I knew.
Sorry.
Does
It's good.
everyone have a chance to put in that they want to put in for the free boat tax?
Did you get 2 tickets? Did you put me in?
Just one, and no board members. No, Michael.
That's just not
Who's
fair.
gonna
I
roll
get a
this
new
year?
boat this year. I want a free boat.
I went to the meeting before, so I never
I'm missing the old box. I gotta say it out loud. With the
I couldn't find it. I was looking all around for it.
Could you please try to find
I
that?
could not find it. We can.
Bob checked it.
Oh, I've got the box.
No, it's in the office.
Because Bob really
Somewhere.
wants a box.
Hold on that one.
It's on Bob's manual right now. He laughs every night.
Yeah.
You know how to read, right?
Yeah, it's scribbles.
Sandy Kaplinger.
Yay.
Yay, Sandy.
All right, that's fine.
She's still here?
Heidi.
Hire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Marinelle Pruden.
That's 2 years in a row, isn't it?
I only put 15 in there.
Well, I would say that's, I would worry that that's the only reason people come to the annual meeting, but you guys have been good attendees all year, so thank you for that. That brings us to public comment. Susan's got her hand up first, so we're going that way. Please.
Flint, Michigan's on my mind. I'm wondering, have we ever tested our water? Do we know if the water we're dispensing to people who show up at River Point Park and the office, do we know if it's safe?
Office water is Bloomington City Water.
The pipes are really old.
We have, no, I have not done direct tap tests.
It might be something we want to look into, particularly because we're giving it to the public when they come.
Absolutely.
On the list. Thanks for that. Anybody else? Awful quiet.
I have a
tonight.
question for Susan. Foundation
Yeah.
update.
We're moving forward. We're meeting with the attorneys, and we expect to have a Friends of Lake Lemon in place by the end of March.
Yay.
Those of you who
Fantastic.
have pledged, if you want to fill out form tonight, I've got it, and we're
Yes.
not collecting
So
until there is an entity in
you've
place.
made your minimum amount?
Yep, we're here.
Congratulations.
And we're going to, we won't collect any money until the entity is established, because then all donations will be tax deductible.
So you're gonna tie that grant down?
So if you
to
want a copy of the
foundation?
prospectus or a form, I've got them.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Huge thank you to you.
Yes.
and
You've
your-
been working
And we have
hard
a
on it.
wonderful three-person board that should be really strong, a biologist, a baker, and me.
And it's none of us.
But we need lots and lots of people to help, so.
Well, thank you. You have worked really hard, and it's got a lot of a lot of detail to it that I didn't anticipate, so thanks for sorting through it.
Nice job.
And John and I are still on the hook for stamps when you're ready for them.
Right.
Yep, we'll do that for our first donation mail.
I'm not letting you forget, John.
Who are the people helping you? I was curious.
At this point, I'm not free to give out names.
Oh, it's top secret.
No, it's just that I'm not free to give those out at this
Okay.
point. So once established, then I can.
Fair enough.
People change their minds, you know.
You guys are quiet from idle on.
I do have a question. Have we ever looked at more of an initiative-based compensation as far as when it comes to the barge operators? And by that, I mean, and this could go 100 ways, and please don't take this as I'm not implying anybody's doing their job incorrectly or improperly, but and this is just one example. Let's just say we look at Eidolon, for example, and we say this is going to take 1 month and $75,000 to complete. Have we ever maybe thought about, okay, Levi, I forget his other name,
Yeah.
Isaacs.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to give you 1 month, $75,000. If you come in and do it in 3 weeks at $50,000, we're going to split that extra $25,000, you know, 30% to you, or split it give somebody an initiative to get it done more
In
efficiently,
timely manner.
Because I mean, I love Levi to death, but we're paying him on an hourly wage. There's not any necessarily a motivation. You know, he could almost make more money in a way doing it from more of an incentive-based compensation. We ever looked at anything like that? Or
I can, real quick, I'm in contracting. Piecework never works out. I've watched thousands of contractors try to go to piecework. The problem you end up with is people figure out how to make more money and you end up losing in the end. So for instance, excavating actually is one of my specialties. What they'll do, they'll come in, let's say they get paid by the yard. They'll just thrash the equipment. They'll turn out 1 billion yards. They'll get a nice big paycheck and we're stuck with, you know, they won't grease anything. They're not getting paid to grease stuff. They aren't going to take it easy on anything. They're not getting paid to take it easy on anything. So yeah, we've looked at piecework for installations other contractors have. Everyone that goes to it immediately gets away from it because it costs you more in the end. It looks like it's going to help you out. And then as far as trying to figure bonuses and incentives, it's hard in contracting to do things to drive people because people figure out how to get around it. You almost never end up with a bulletproof plan.
Sure. Is there any way to...
Then you also end up with whatever your original estimates are can affect how that works out. So for instance, you know, if you project a project poorly and they know they've ended up on a bad project, then it doesn't do them any good to even try at all.
Sure.
Because they know they're coming in at a loss out the gate. We've all had loser projects that, you know, and you've all had winners. So if you're on a winner project and you're getting paid incentive based, it may not be because you were trying any harder or doing a better job.
Okay.
We have $38,000. Can we hire more people?
I don't remember what we had budgeted for next year.
No,
though.
not for this year,
We're
but
already
next
locked into next year's budget.
That's a great question though, John. And when you look at people will suggest that, and I don't know that I have all
You
the
have a
answers,
huge
but,
safety concern.
Yeah.
If you're paying people on an incentive, they're not going to be
That's careful.
cautious about safety, and they're going to get hurt. And I'd like to be the lawyer on that case to you know, ask the board and the staff why they were paying them an incentive based and took all safety precautions out. You'd have OSHA and IOSHA and everybody else knocking on your door and pay fines.
We thought it was a great idea. We were right like you. We thought, oh yeah, we're going to go to this. And then afterwards we were like, wow, didn't see that one coming. And many I've watched other contractors do it in all different types of contracting. And
Okay.
that's just been my experience with it.
But I will say, I think that we do have enough money in this year's budget and overages where we could have a discussion and talk about having 2 barges on the lake.
That's what I was asking.
And I know that's where Sue was going because it's all been on all of our minds. And I think that we're at a point now where we can start having those discussions.
Adam, would you please explain again why we did not complete the amount of dredging we had anticipated for last year?
Towards the end of the year, we just ran out of water. We wanted
Too
to,
shallow.
Eidolon was next on the docket, the west side Eidolon.
Okay.
We would have had to dig the access channel to the point that we just dug 2 years ago. A year before, we would have had to dig that entire area just to get there. So if we're at normal pool, we could have got there, but
Okay,
we were.
I just
we were-
wanted that
yeah.
on the record.
We were so far below, we would have had to dig in to get to the actual areas. And I'd seen Eidolon, I was driving over to the disposal site the other weekend. Once you get past that turn, heading up to the creek
It's a
bridge,
mess.
there's virtually no channel there at all.
Barb, I want to get to you because you've had your hand up for a minute.
Okay, we may have a $38,000 excess funds or overage and what have you, but that's not gonna, that doesn't mean we're gonna have that every year. There are a lot of variables to that, excess money. We're just lucky, I mean, we are.
With
And one of the
hope-
benefits of seasonal part-time employees was if we do speculate we'll have a little bit of extra, we can find potentially people that would come on and be willing to work, a month here, a month there, and then if we run out of money, then they're seasonal temporary, so it's fine.
You also have to make sure that the dredgers and push boat operator you're gonna hire have knowledge of this lake,
Right.
or they'll be tearing up the equipment and we'll be spending a lot of money in repairs.
Absolutely. Vince, you have a thought?
So, what was the last date that Levi worked on the dredge before he took off to go harvest?
I'm not positive. I'd have to.
Pretty much
look at
like
the office for
the
that.
beginning of October,
I'd have to
maybe
look at the
a little
office.
earlier.
We're trying to put together this tax incentive foundation here. If we raise more money from the individual freeholders here, because now we have a tax deductive thing, we may actually be able to budget more money for a second crew.
I don't think that, they can't use those funds for, oh,
Right, freeing up other money, exactly.
Right.
Good point. Point well taken. This is how we think about things, and is because you ask these good questions, and we appreciate that, so.
I would just say that it'll be a good 2 years before there's equity.
Okay,
to
true,
really use
right.
it.
But it's something to think about, we got a plan for.
I don't think we can.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as adding additional help or whatever besides Levi, have you guys looked at either hiring someone as a sub on how much would you charge me for this week? Or going to Tradesman International, where they do have the tradesmen that are skilled in it, that have gone to the ABC school as opposed to union, if you don't want to use union. Because that takes the liability of all the employer insurance and liability insurance off of it too a lot. So
That's what we need to.
I have started thinking about that, and actually I've been in contact with another guy who runs, actually Mike got him in contact with me, who runs another dredging operation. And I was asking him about, right now we don't have full time, that I could bring somebody on, but if we wanted to do a month here, a month there, if they'd be interested, and they were. So that's actually one of the things I have been looking into, especially if we'll be leasing equipment. It's one of the biggest problems in my mind is lease equipment, then have somebody not here, and I have to have somebody operate it. Then talking to that person today, when they said they'd be willing to come in for maybe a month at a time, at different times, I think we might be able to fill in the gaps and still maintain our knowledge here.
All good points. Todd?
Just keep in mind, I've said this every year now for at least the last 3 years. From what I'm hearing a while ago, we're getting ready, or we're on the list to dredge a place out that's been dredged already. When you've got a lot of people that's not ever been touched and got less than a foot of water to even get into the boating area. I still have my area that I'm still wanting done, and I've said it for the last 3 years, and I'm offering it again. I've got property there at on my site, so where every bit of the sediment digging me out could be dumped on my land, which would save us tons of money, because you can dig it out there and dump it on me and make your way out to the lake.
I don't think.
And it would benefit both. It'd benefit me because I'd be dredged out. It'd benefit the Conservancy because it costs you a lot less than hauling it somewhere else across the lake. I know you're talking, next month about priorities. We've not had, from what I understand, you've not had a dredging meeting, for a month or so because of the weather, there's other things, but I want the board to know that that's still an option.
Thank you. And we do have a meeting pending. We have not set it officially up, but Mike is in charge of the dredging study group now because Tina left us, and he's the man for the job, so he's going to be working on that right after this.
Doesn't our DNR permit only allow us to dump at the disposal sites that are set forth by DNR?
The disposal sites are really based on how much land you're disturbing, where you're placing your sediment. So the reason why we had to be permitted is because we needed more than an acre site to put our spoils at.
So if you keep it under an acre?
So if you keep it under an acre, then technically you wouldn't need a permit.
Yes, Barb.
Why would the dredging committee approve dredging an area that's been dredged already, where where another area hasn't been dredged at all and they've been waiting to be dredged for quite a while?
A lot of factors go into play, and this
Like
was
what?
Well, there are a lot of them.
A place that's been dredged, or an area that's been dredged already, you would put that over an area that hasn't been dredged at all and they've been waiting to be dredged?
Do we have a list from last year? Are we?
We have a-
Okay,
an
all right,
ongoing list,
okay.
we do.
Do we follow after, because I know they've done the area over by Cemetery Island, and I know they've done the area down where Susan lives. Isn't the next place on the list?
Then it starts a new list every year.
From last year, the next place is
But
West
shouldn't
Side.
it, I mean,
Yeah, the old priorities that were not finished will be on the next year's priority.
right,
It
right.
carries over. It's
So it
the
should be
SRP
like
that
number,
we have been following. I should let Mike say
if
this.
that's number three becomes number one this year. Is that?
Not always.
Not always.
I remember the meeting very well, and one of the former board members, Dennis Friesel, spoke out adamantly about doing the west end of the lake, and particularly an area where it was unsafe for boaters. Bob remembers
Boating
this.
safety, that's one thing.
Let me finish.
Right, yeah.
Please. And we talked about that, and there was an area by Young Road that had never been touched. And we wanted to put that on the first priority, but we got outvoted. We instead did the unsafe boating area first, and then the operator came to the manager and said, if I keep digging here, I'm gonna tear up the equipment. We wasted a lot of time on that priority. Some of the times, we go back to an area because of all the people that it affects. And in addition to that, we need to go back there because my plan is, when we apply for this NRSC grant in May, and we tie it to the foundation, we're gonna do maintenance at Idalon. And then we won't have to dig there anymore, other than to maintain our maintenance. Our Weir project, or whatever project we're gonna do, I'm gonna help Adam write this grant. I've been very successful at writing grants, and I'm gonna help him write this grant. We're gonna get it, I don't know. If Donald Trump becomes president, we probably won't get any more grants. But
Tell us how you really feel, Mike.
well, and this is very important, because you want to know about, we're going to come here in March, and we're going to talk about priorities.
Right, we are.
Yes, we
And-
are.
And my priority, District 7, may not be the rest of these 6 people's priority. I know Pam has priorities, I know Andy has priorities, even the staff has priorities, so we got to get work through that.
I don't.
One of the things that Marty Mann told me that I think made the most sense is balance. And we have to strike a balance with the whole lake. And that's what we intend to do. So the March meeting is when we will sit down after the dredging, pardon me?
Okay, go ahead, I'm not.
The dredging study group will meet, I got my calendar out. The dredging study group, I'm going to send an email to the manager to try to meet, and I'll send this in an email, this isn't official, but probably Saturday the 20th, or, because I work weekends,
I know.
or Saturday, March 5th. It'll be one of those Saturdays where we can get the group together. Do the 5th? I'm gonna send you the email, you choose whatever.
I want to make one correction. We did not waste time on 208 this past season. Yes, it got voted in, but we went to Levi knowing that previously a lot of breakages had occurred. And I said, what do you think? And he said, abandon ship on 208.
Thank you.
So we did not
we
actually
didn't
never
spend a lot
go
of
there
time there.
and start, we didn't go there at all.
Didn't go there at all.
So I just wanted to make that
Thank you.
clarification.
One of these
and I
319
appreciate it.
grants, hopefully we can prioritize prevention. And once we kind of go back to maintenance in the areas, that'll be the key.
We've got a lot to do. Ron, are you still wanting to?
Yes, I would just like to clarify Todd's offer. You are offering that also as a dump site for other than just dig back to you, correct?
Yes.
For anything in the east side of Point Eidalon, it's just another dump site that I think we do minimal preparation. We dump on, what is the west end? Kenny Clark?
Yeah.
It's a private, we would have to, I'm sure, meet IDEM, and you're well aware of that, but you're talking 5 or 6 acres of dump site availability?
There's probably 4.
4.
Oh, we can do the math on
It just,
that and figure it out.
we've got plenty of mud up there to spread around, and the closer the dump site, the more efficient we are.
And if we are
And
able
you've
to
got a
start-
freeholder offering it, I just think it's an option. I just want to clarify it was more than just yours.
It's more than, just do it and to get me done. I mean,
Yes.
you've got, like he said, all of North Shore, these guys right here, all of Eidalon on my end of Eidalon Point. It would benefit because you don't have to go all the way around the point and then back past their house to the Eidalon or Possum Trot dump site.
We appreciate that. Cynthia, you had your hand up a while ago. Did you get your question answered? I did see
I'm
you.
good, but I really like what this woman over here said about looking into the possibility of another person to run it who has the benefits or things I don't understand, so that they had certain aspects covered they would be concerned about, insurance, whatever that would be. And I do just want to say something, and I always am afraid of being contentious. I understand the situation with Levi, but I gotta tell you again, we were on that lake a lot during the week, in beautiful, beautiful days. And I know you did a fabulous job, and we really respect that, but that dredger was sitting there day after day after day after day, when it could have been out working. And I mean, that can't be sick days off for Levi, and that was early in the summer. We were on that lake all summer long, so,
Did we have broken equipment earlier in the summer or not?
No.
Okay, all right.
We were missing a push boat operator for just a little while. We had a little, you said you went through 4,
Yeah, I
right?
went through
That
a
is
few
not
at
the
the
easy
beginning.
one to fix. Well, thank you for that.
It wasn't a
Appreciate your
productive
comment.
year. It wasn't a
It
productive year.
had a lot of.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
Downs. Yes, sir.
When you hired Levi, you knew what his schedule was gonna be. He was a farmer,
Mhm.
and he did all this, and everybody agreed to this schedule. So let's quit throwing Levi under the bus. Maybe he should have been out there, maybe he shouldn't, but you gotta think what you have with Levi. He's not just an excavator, he's a mechanic. He makes things work. He does things that
We know.
would cost you a
Believe
lot of
me.
money
We
if he
know.
wasn't there.
We know. Thank you for that.
We're aware.
Yes, Barb.
Getting back to, speaking about Levi, he had set times when he was off. There never had been a complaint before. Why now?
I think it was, I really think a lot of this was the weather, because
Yeah.
the whole month of August was just trash.
And part of
You
July.
couldn't do anything, because it was just, the lake was too low. And if you don't live, if you don't know that, or if you come in infrequently and you don't notice the difference, and it seems like he should be working, but he can't do it, and he couldn't do it.
And normally
I
we
know
can
that.
use up the majority of the hours
I
because we
know.
go later into the season.
Right, but it
we
was,
just
it
couldn't
went a
this
long
year.
time.
And early on, we had a lot of rain, and you don't dredge in the rain.
Right,
Yeah, it was
right.
flooding.
So, I mean, it was a
It's not
bad
Levi's fault.
year. No,
Right.
that's
No,
right.
no
Yeah,
one's
and we're
pointing
aware of
fingers.
that.
No.
Yeah.
Folks, John,
Oh.
since you took the time, I'm going to try to
No,
wrap this up.
I think one last comment, and this will probably be a debate as long as we go on here, but one of the things is, okay, well, this person was, and I'm be honest here, I'm in that situation where Eidalon was dredged out several years ago. But I think there's so much more to this picture. It's what's the problem? Why is Eidalon filling in here? And we have a huge problem in that Possum Trot Creek. If you go over there right now, I mean, Jim and I joke about this all the time. He used to tell me, hey, go to the back of the boat, and I would fall in that channel. It'd be over my head. Now it's not even up to my ankles. I mean, Adam spoke of this earlier. There is no channel. That channel has filled in 6 feet or so in the last 4 or 5 years. So there is a definite cancer that is causing this. And I don't want anybody to think that we're selfish in the fact that, hey, we're asking to be dredged out again. We have a definite
You want a
cancer
solution
here
to-
that is,
yeah. Right.
I would love to fix that cancer and never have to talk about being dredged out again.
Is that one of those areas you talked about having a holding
Yes.
area?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just love to redirect that stream south of the bridge right into that wetland off to the left, so it just falls out there. That'll be some of the things we're discussing, especially if we can get this grant. We'll be able to implement a lot of infrastructure or procedures to hopefully maintain that.
I mean, we feel it on, we feel the frustration on everybody's part of being dug
Thanks.
out, but we've identified a definite cancer and a problem here, and we'd like to quit complaining about it ourselves. to be
That
quite
is,
honest, so.
that is an amazing influx. I think we've missed something
great.
there.
I wish everybody could come down and just look at it right now with it. And it's amazing how fast that water is running right now.
Right.
And just bringing all that in, and it just compounds itself tenfold every year, so.
Yeah, we'd like to collect that further upstream, so then all we would be doing is digging out the whatever is blocking it, rather than in front of your residence. And that's our plan.
When you get that much rain last night with half thawed, the ground is still frozen. There's no place for it to go.
Exactly.
We appreciate you coming and sharing your thoughts. It helps us understand better too. So, folks, the next item on the agenda are the board election results from sub-areas 3 and 5. As you heard earlier, well, let me start with 3. Marty Mann's district, sub-area 3, was he filled out the last year of Kim Mayer's term, and then his time as of this meeting that expires, a new term begins, and so in the fall, as per protocol, we sent out, or Adam sent out, I didn't do it, and James, the election protocol, and we had one person who ran unopposed, and her name is Mary Jane Brown, and she's sitting in the back, and we will swear her in a minute and let her tell us a little bit about herself. So thank you for that. There is no reason for an election, obviously. And then sub-area 5, which is Andy's district, Andy stepped in and filled in the rest of this year. And then I think we scared him and sent the election request out, and he has a lot of things going on, so was not prepared to commit to a 4-year term. So as per protocol, we went back to sending the postcards and soliciting someone to fill in for 1 year, that starting tonight. And he was kind enough to throw his hat back in the ring, and I hope it didn't get you in too much trouble at home. But thank you.
He's here.
I own
So,
the home.
so that becomes a board appointment, a director appointment by the board. So I think we need, that brings me to my next point. I believe we need an actual motion, or we did do that just to be official,
To do that, I can move that we take Andy on as a 1-year term
I'll second.
board director.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Do you have anything you would like to say? You had to introduce yourself
No.
before. We kind of know you
Not
now.
much
but-
has changed.
Okay, well,
This is the last time I introduced myself, so.
well, we appreciate you, and I especially appreciate you. I've learned some things from you. I learned something today that I didn't know. So he's kind of I tell him he's going to be our internal board lawyer. He's a good open door law guy and a rules guy.
Should
So.
we welcome these two people? Okay.
Oh, wait, she needs to be sworn in.
Okay. Well,
Do I need to swear him in again, John? You do
Yes,
that?
yeah, for the 1-year appointment.
Okay.
So you can do the oath of officers both at the same time.
Okay. So he's
I
gonna-
state your name.
Yes, all right. Okay.
If you want to send that.
Shall we do these separately? Mary Jane, you want to come up here?
I can do that.
That would be great.
Everybody should
Are
have.
you fine?
Since you're a lady in number 3, we'll go with you first.
Then one's for
After
Candace
this, it's
to read
on
off
to
of.
New Hampshire.
Exactly.
One of them
All right.
I just made it for Pam to read off. Oh.
Mary Jane Brown. Repeat after.
Do I have to raise my hand?
No.
You can't do anything until you sign. Well, does she sign after or
After.
before? After. Never mind.
I do solemnly swear that I shall,
I do solemnly swear that I shall,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
strive to accomplish the purposes
strive to accomplish the purposes
for which the district is established,
for which the district is established,
and to properly operate
and to properly operate
and maintain
and maintain
its works of improvement.
its works of improvement.
That's all there is to it. Good, now we'll have you sign this.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You can sit here.
You may also have a
You might
receipt.
mention that
Oh.
this Marty is now on.
He has now completed his term, and we thank him for that
Yeah.
fill-in. Would you like to just say how you got to Lake Lemon? I always like to hear people's stories.
Old 37 or?
Pam told me that she would ask you to say a few words and to be brief. What she does not know is that when I have an audience, I love to talk.
Uh-oh.
But I'll stick to that and try to be brief. I've been coming to Lake Lemon since I was a student at Indiana University, which was many years ago. And one of my very best friends was Chris Spickelmeyer, who many of you knew. And she and her husband had a house out here starting in 1998. And I was often a guest. It was always a joke that no matter how many people were going to be here, I had the same room all the time at their house. So a few years ago, I started to think about retiring from my full-time work in Chicago. And Chris had a gleam in her eye and said, you know, there's a little house down the street from us that's for sale. And as they say, the rest is history. And I bought my house in 2012, and I'm delighted to be part of this community. And I'm looking forward to learning a lot more about the Conservancy as a member of the board.
Or you're going to have some nice new reading materials they'll stack up. Or you can do them online.
That's
So
fine.
we thank you very much.
There'll be a
Please-
test.
Please
so.
join us here, and thank you for. Yep, Andy, one more time. I should know this by heart by now.
We do this every
Okay.
year.
I know. I do solemnly swear that I shall,
I do solemnly swear that I shall,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability, you want me to just read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Strive to accomplish the purposes for which the district is established and to properly operate and maintain its works of improvement.
Very well, thank you. All right.
One more thing before you adjourn. It's quick. Mary Santa Rosa passed away a few days before Christmas. If anyone didn't know that, it was somewhat unexpected. Nice family on the lake. It was sad to see happen.
I
So,
read that and wondered.
yeah.
Yeah, that's very sad.
Mary lived in the home that all of us refer to as Reed Point.
With the sandbag, right?
Yes, the sandbag seawalls. Wonderful family, and it was a shock. And we lost another wonderful man in the same district, and that's Jess Metzger, who had been on the lake forever, as far as I can tell. His home has been purchased and it's being renovated. It's right next to our bay. It's the gray and white home.
Okay. That's never good to hear those things. Our next meeting, March 16th, right here at 6 o'clock. That will be our big discussion on dredging priorities that we kind of touched on tonight. So please come and let us know how we can help and what we can do. We'll have the DSG meetings between now and then to help us with that as well. I wanted to note, and you see this right after we adjourn, which is next, the directors are going to meet to elect board officers for the year. You are welcome to stay. That is not a closed meeting. If you're ready to go see the rest of the Pacer game, that's fine as well. So with that, I don't know, motion to adjourn.
I move.
Second? Aye.
I have a quick question.
Okay.